I felt no longer a woman, and I am terrified of hospitals and doctors.
Tonight, a Senate committee hears painful testimony from survivors of forced sterilization.
Half of the camping grounds in Quebec are better equipped than Kitsusaki.
They've been living without hydroelectricity just miles away from a generating station, but all that is about to change.
When my name was called, I was very shocked.
And this young woman will take her message about community and family to the Calgary Stampede. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. There's a sneak peek at our photo of the day. A Senate committee on human rights heard the painful stories of a group of Indigenous women Monday evening. The women are survivors of forced sterilization. APTN's Fraser Needham has more.
There are no words to describe the violation and powerlessness of having your cultural identity as a woman essentially sterilized.
This terrifying experience left a void inside of me. I felt no longer a woman, and I am terrified of hospitals and doctors. I didn't say anything to anybody because I thought no one would believe me.
I felt empty with my maternal instinct and God-given ability to bear life cut and ripped from me.
These are just a few snapshots of the horrific stories shared by Indigenous women who were forced into sterilization against their will by hospital staff and social services workers. The women told the Senate committee the sterilization was done without consultation or choice, usually just after they had given birth and were most vulnerable, with scars lasting a lifetime. Witness Morningstar Mercury told the committee countless Indigenous people have been subject to forced sterilization for generations.
It is my opinion that we will never adequately be able to determine the numbers of women and men, girls and boys that were sterilized in residential schools and in Indian hospitals.
Senator Kim Pate said the stories she heard meet the test for criminal prosecution.
In this case, my hearing of what you've described already violated criminal law. You were assaulted. You were sexually assaulted. It was also contrary to the medical codes of the doctors and nurses, all the medical professionals. It violated your human rights. And yet there's been no accountability.
A 2021 Senate report recommended a House of Commons committee further study this issue with the goal of finding solutions to stop the practice. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Now to the woods of Western Quebec, to the Algonquin community of Kitsusaki, where an electrifying development deal is set to change day-to-day life for good for community members. Here's Lindsay Richardson with that story.
You can't hear much when night falls in Kitsusaki except the low hum of diesel generators. For decades, the community's lived off the electrical grid, but that's about to change.
Half of the camping grounds in Quebec are better equipped than Kitsusaki. They're open 6 months a year. These Anishinaabe from Kitsusaki live in Kitsusaki all year long. So to me, it's a situation that is totally unacceptable.
That's where the Animiki Ishkote project comes in, named using the Anishinaabe term for electricity. They've been too patient for too long, says Sophie Brochu, president of Hydro-Quebec. So Hydro will be footing the bill to build a 25 kilovolt electrical line through Kitsusaki. Kitsusaki is not a recognized reserve. They rely on costly generators to provide 5 to 7 hours of power per day. So Quebec's Indigenous Affairs Ministry will also step in to make sure their facilities are modernized.
And I was quite, I'm going to say surprised, but quite shocked, knowing that this happened in our backyard, and a lot of Quebecers don't even know about it, to be honest.
Though it'll be a long-winded process, residents like Jimmy Papatsi are already excited. For years, Papatzi's used Facebook as a way to connect outsiders to the daily realities of Kitsusaki living.
Quand je vais avoir ma première facture des testicules, ça va me faire plaisir de le payer. Je vais prendre ma facture, je vais le faire laminer, là, puis le mettre dans mon mur. Il faut dire que 2000, dans le fond, c'est une journée que ça, 2000. On est en 2022, le 2 mai, puis on annonce, tu sais, pour les gens de la communauté qui, aux autres, ils disent, c'est enfin, on va les tester, c'est fini, les générateurs.
It's ironic that a community literally down the street from hydro infrastructures waited so long for electricity. In a statement for the occasion, Federal Indigenous Affairs Minister Patty Haiju called access to electricity a fundamental need. Kitsisakik's chief agrees.
Aujourd'hui, on vient quand même de régler une situation qui est majeure de l'électrification. Parce que là, veut pas, là, avec les conditions climatiques qu'on vit, c'est ici, le froid qui est intense et ainsi de suite. Je pense qu'on vient de au moins sécuriser nos membres pour les 5 par rapport à l'électrification.
Groundbreaking on the project will begin this summer. Come 2025, Kitsusakik will no longer be left in the dark. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Kitsusakik, Quebec.
Thanks, Lindsay. We always want to hear what you have to say about anything you see here. Here's how you can continue the conversation. You can send us your emails to news@aptn.ca or leave a comment on our website. That's aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. The British Columbia government is the first in North America to introduce an Antiracism Data Act. The province says the new legislation was co-developed with Indigenous leaders. APTN's Lee Wilson has more.
Leaders from the BC government introduced the Antiracism Data Act at a press conference. It aims to use data collection to help fix gaps in government programs and services. BC Premier John Horgan says this is the first step in making a more inclusive British Columbia.
It's the first step on that journey to reclaim this building, not just for those who sit in the legislature, but all of those in British Columbia who are represented by a diverse, dynamic group of people, opposition and government, that come here to make life better. And the accountability that will be within this act will be a result of the advocacy that's sitting in front of me.
The new legislation was co-developed with Indigenous leaders under the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act. Regional Chief Terry Teegee of the Assembly of First Nations says it will benefit First Nations and all British Columbians.
I'm pleased and encouraged to see the legislation introduced today. This legislation will benefit First Nations and all British Columbians as we strive towards a more inclusive and equal society.
Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Kitimat.
Time for a quick break. Coming up, we'll take you on set of a new movie being filmed in Manitoba's Interlake. Stay with us. Welcome back. APTN National News has another award under its belt. This one celebrates international press freedom. Our own Kathleen Martens was awarded a citation of merit by World Press Freedom Canada, an Ottawa-based organization. Martens received the award today for her work on sexual assault and harassment by so-called healers and elected chiefs. Her work about Manitoba Grand Chief Arlen Dumas sending inappropriate texts to young women 3 years ago led to retaliation against APTN News. Dumas is now facing an HR and criminal investigation. After this spring, a female employee of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs alleged sexual harassment, including sexual assault. None of the allegations against Dumas have been proven in court. Big congrats to Kathleen for her work. Audible is a massive audiobook subscription service, and for the second year, they're coordinating an Indigenous Writers Circle, matching First Nations, Inuit, and Métis writers with mentors. Samantha Kreelow joined Melissa Ridgen earlier to talk about her mentorship.
Samantha, thanks for joining us. You were one of the first in the Audible Indigenous Writers Circle. Last year, I interviewed Tanya Talaga, who was a mentor. That was your mentor. Like my mind is blown thinking of being paired up with Tanya Talaga as a mentor. This is crazy. Tell us about what the mentorship entailed for you.
It was an excellent mentorship program. So it was every month for 6 months. I had a 1-hour meeting with Tanya and then occasional emails back and forth. I would send her different chapters from my novel I was working on, and sometimes we would go through it together and she would kind of give me hints, tips, tricks, all kinds of things for how to improve my writing. And what we focused on was she helped me kind of embed my indigeneity into my work, really taking it from a book about Indigenous characters to like an Indigenous book.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you write books. Who should apply for this mentorship? Like, is it somebody who is just looking to be a novelist? Is it playwrights or people who want to write movies? Like, who should be interested in this?
It's really for any Indigenous person who has a passion for writing. That doesn't have to be novel writing, doesn't even have to be fiction. I know a lot of people were working on memoirs, graphic novels too. You could submit that in your application. It's really any type of creative writing.
Okay, what have you been up to since this mentorship and what's next for you?
Well, since this mentorship, I actually switched my majors at school. Previously, I was a criminology student, and now I'm going into my 3rd year of a creative writing degree. So I've been very much focused on my schooling right now, but I've also had a couple of public readings with Langara College, that sort of thing. And I was actually a mentee on an APTN Lumi show that's coming out called Shadow of the Rougarou. I was a youth mentee for it.
Is there anywhere where we can go and read some of your stuff?
You can find me on Twitter at Samantha Kreelow. That's Krilow.
We are so thankful that you took time to chat with us, and we hope we're going to let people know how to apply for this mentorship. And I'm so happy that it worked out for you. But I mean, with Tanya, how of course it's going to, right?
It's excellent.
Awesome. Thanks, Samantha.
Thanks so much for having me.
And you too can apply for the Indigenous Writers Circle mentorship at audible.ca. The deadline is May 31st, 2022. A new Crave TV series is currently being filmed in Manitoba, and it features plenty of Indigenous cast and crew, as well as a ton of training opportunities. Our Daryl Stranger went on location to visit the set.
Action. Production is underway on the new 6-part Crave series, A Little Bird, created by Jennifer Podemski and Hannah Moskovich in association with APTN and Resolution Pictures. Co-creator Jennifer Podemski gave a brief breakdown of what to expect.
It is about a woman who is searching for her birth family, originally born in Saskatchewan. She was raised in a Jewish family in Montreal, and on the eve of her engagement to a beautiful man, she decides to embark on a journey to find the truth of her past.
Award-winning filmmakers Elmaya Tailfeathers and Zoe Hopkins will each direct 3 episodes. The production of Little Bird is unique in that it features a training program for emerging and mid-career level Indigenous creators and crew, while also paving a path for entry-level individuals to gain practical on-set experience.
One of the realities is that we as Indigenous people represent such a low number of the workforce in the film industry, and that's due to a variety of reasons. But one of the things I think that's important to recognize is that training is a big part of building capacity, and in order to really make a place for ourselves in the industry, training is at the center of that effort.
Jamie Felix is one of the actors and crew members part of the training program. He says it's a great way to get an overall feel for the industry.
I know I'll be doing lighting, so I'll be learning about the lighting, and I'll see how all the cameras are set up. I'll be like in the back watching everybody do their work while I'm just like watching, right? So it's just I'm learning a little bit here and there, and then just by speaking with everybody on how do you do this, how do you do that, and they're teaching me a little bit there, and it's just like, oh, nice. And even knowing people too, it's like, oh, what do you do here? And then they're like, oh, I do this. And it's like, oh, okay, that's nice, man.
Filming is expected to wrap up this summer, and Little Bird is aimed for a release sometime in 2023. Daryl Stranger, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Jen Podemski and Elmaya working on the same project. Sounds like a winner to me. Time for one more quick break. Still to come, a traditional dancer from Kitsusaki Nation has been crowned First Nations Princess for the Calgary Stampede.
Being the First Nations princess, I think it's an opportunity to share even more information and my culture, my ways, and family stories.
Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. And our thanks to Sandra Seidel for this view from the cabin. This was the scene from West Hawk Lake in southeastern Manitoba. With warmer temperatures on the way and Manitoba and ice still on that lake, we can expect more melting on the way soon. If you have a great photo, email that photo to share@aptn.ca. Now to another sign of spring and that it is nearly hopefully upon us. The cherry blossom trees in High Park, Toronto are set to hit their peak bloom this week. The first few cherry blossom trees have begun showing their color, with more expected to bloom tomorrow. 75% of the blossoms will likely be open by this weekend and will be here until May 11th. Cherry blossoms can also be found outside Robarts Library at the University of Toronto, at Trinity Bellwoods and the Portlands. Now time to take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the east coast, 6 with showers in St. John's, 16 with rain in Halifax, +3 and rain in Kuujjuaq, showers and 0 in Nain. 15 with rain for Montreal, rain-snow mix and 4 in Chibougamau. 11 for Sault Ste. Marie, 13 and cloudy in North Bay. 9 with cloud in Thunder Bay, 11 in Sioux Lookout. +2 with snow in God's Lake, 5 and flurries for Norway House. 18 with showers in Winnipeg, sunny, and 22 for Dauphin. 22 and sunny in Regina, 25 and sunny in Saskatoon. 6 with a chance of snow in Buffalo Narrows, 4 and cloudy in La Ronge. In northern Alberta, 15 for High Level, Peace River, and Grand Prairie. 23 in Lethbridge, 19 with rain in Edmonton. 11 with showers in Victoria, rain, and 13 in Vancouver. 11 with rain in Prince George, 8 and rain in Smithers. 4 in Old Crow, 8 with rain for Whitehorse. More rain and 11 for Yellowknife, 12 in Norman Wells. +3 in Sax Harbor, 4 in Pawlatuck. -5 with snow for Chesterfield and Whale Cove. -6 in Resolute and Igloolik. The Calgary Stampede is just 2 months away, and Tamara Pimentel met with the newly crowned First Nations princess for that Stampede. She brings us this story about Indigenous involvement in the event.
Being crowned the First Nations princess for the Calgary Stampede has always been a dream for Sikipanaki Lohorn.
When my name was called, I was very shocked. My late teens saw that all these wonderful women be the princess, and being able to represent my family is what kind of attracted me to apply for the role.
A traditional dancer from Siksika Nation, the role as First Nations princess also makes Lohorn an ambassador for the Stampede, specifically for the teepee camp that has been occupied by Treaty 7 for generations. Her adopted grandparents have had their teepee here for as long as she can remember.
Being able to be the ambassador, I feel like there's not a lot of those opportunities for Indigenous people, especially in a city like Calgary. I think there definitely needs to be a lot more opportunities like this for Indigenous women and young Indigenous youth. Being the First Nations princess, I think it's an opportunity to share even more information and my culture, my ways, and family stories.
To become the First Nations princess, public speaking and cultural knowledge come into play, and Lohorn is a natural storyteller with a ton of background on the Stampede. The 27-year-old is currently attending the University of Calgary as a fine arts graduate student. She wrote her thesis on Blackfoot cowboys and their involvement in what is called the greatest show on earth. It started with founder Guy Wiedek.
Guy Wiedek really advocated for the Blackfoot people and the Treaty 7 people to be a part of the Stampede. He went out of his way to write letters to the government, talk to Indian agents, and he really allowed us that opportunity to leave the reserve and come into the city and participate.
From the teepee village to the rodeo, Treaty 7 now plays a major role in the Stampede. Leading up to the opening parade in July, Lowhorn will attend events throughout the city along with Princess Jenna Peters. The pair will speak publicly, and Lowhorn will have the chance to share her family's story. Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Calgary.
Well, it was time to say goodbye to a legend today. Hockey superstar and national hero Guy Lafleur was remembered today at his funeral in Montreal. Former hockey stars, politicians, and hundreds of fans gathered in Montreal to pay tribute to the five-time Stanley Cup champion. Lafleur passed away on April 22nd of lung cancer at 70 years of age. The Hockey Hall of Famer was remembered as a man who lived life to its fullest. A new episode of Face to Face is coming up right after the news. Our guest tonight is Georgianne Morisseau, a member of Thunder Bay's Embattled Police Services Board and a former chief of Fort William First Nation. She's filed a human rights complaint against members of the board and high-ranking members of the police service, some of who are the focus of a criminal investigation by the Ontario Provincial Police. Morisseau says she is concerned for her personal safety.
When you start to push and you start to push the envelope more and more and you start to see the strains of accountability, you never know how people are going to react. And if they were, if individuals were willing within their leadership capacity to leverage that and, seek production orders on my phone, and now moving ahead, there you got a criminal investigation currently taking place by OPP. You have a OCPC investigation being taken, or being conducted. The stakes are high.
And you can watch our entire interview with Georgianne Morisseau on Face to Face in less than 2 minutes' time. That is all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. For news anytime, visit our website, aptnnews.ca, and be sure to join us live tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time when Melissa puts Indigenous influencers in focus. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night.